Gordon had not moved an inch since the Fat Controller had ordered him to take a rest. He almost could feel the rust forming between him and the rails. However, wrapped up in his own sorrow, Gordon had failed to notice that over the past few days, Thomas, the silly little engine, had been giving him worried looks every time he passed by the sheds with Annie and Clarabelle. "It's a shame, my dear Annie, to think that Gordon has been sitting there all alone." "Indeed," muttered Annie. "But then again, we can only see things from the coach shed." She turned her eyes towards the unusually silent Thomas. "Tell me, Thomas," she asked, "do you know what's wrong with poor old Gordon?" Thomas sighed. "I wish." Annie and Clarabelle knew further discussion would lead anywhere, and soon fell asleep. Thomas, on the other hand, didn't. He stayed awake all night, getting lost in the stars above him, as well as his thoughts. Is this what Gordon feels? He pondered on that question for a long time. The next morning at the junction, Thomas's passengers had just finished boarding Solmon's coaches when someone spoke up. "Here we bloody go again. Oi, Thomas! What's wrong, old boy?" Thomas stared blankly at Solmon. "Nothing, I'm fine." Solomon knew exactly where this was going. He slammed his brakes hard on. "Thomas, while I'd love to run up and down the line again to get you to talk, I'm simply too old for that nonsense. So tell me, Thomas, what's wrong?" Thomas took some time to answer. "Believe it or not, it's with Gordon, or his prolonged silence to be more specific." Solomon smiled. "Don't worry, I believe you. Do you have any idea why he's given us the cold buffer?" "I'm not sure exactly why, but it definitely has something to do with going to crew." "That's somewhat odd," added Solomon. "You'd think that after banging on about Henry getting a new shape, he'd enjoy a rebuild." "Do you think you could ask him?" ventured Thomas. Solomon frowned. "I wish. Sadly, James and Henry have ruined what little big-engine camaraderie was left. And with Edwin at the works, the only other engine who could really get through to him is you." Thomas gulped. "Do you really think that?" "No, I believe it. Plus, if we don't help Gordon now, he'll probably never forgive us." And suddenly the realization that he was supposed to be pulling a train hit Solomon. "Anyway, I'm already late enough. See you later, Thomas, and remember what I said." Thomas wouldn't forget those words any time soon. After leaving Annie and Clarabelle at the big station, Thomas headed for the sheds. He was dreading the conversation that was to come. As he got onto the turntable, he finally took a closer look at Gordon. Not only did he look absolutely miserable, he also smelt the par. It was a funny, musty sort of smell. Nevertheless, Thomas braved on. He backed down on the berth next to Gordon's. To what felt like a 1,000-year silence, Thomas finally spoke up. "Well, it's a shame you're going to leave us for so long, Gordon. We're really going to miss you." Gordon grunted. "I can tell you're trying to cheer me up, Thomas, and it's not working. So please leave me alone." "I'm not going to. United we stand, divided we fall. You've more than honoured your part. It's about time I did as well." Gordon beamed. You remember our alliance?" Thomas smiled. "Of course I do. Now, Gordon, enough beating around the bush. Why did you want to go to crew?" Gordon took a deep breath. "Thomas, you know how I was in my youth." "Young and green," Thomas chuckled. "Well, yes, but more importantly, I'm the oldest of my brothers. I'm a prototype, a catalyst. I feel like I have a legacy to carry. However, to be rebuilt, and not even at Doncaster, it feels like a betrayal. But it doesn't have to be. Gordon, I may be a tank engine, but I understand where you're coming from. And to be honest, you're priding yourself on the wrong things. You never chose to be an express engine, let alone one from Doncaster. However, something you can choose to be, and that you have been, is the Fat Controller's premier express engine. and we both know some engines would just do anything to have that title. And yet you've never been beaten at your own game by anyone who's ever tried. Gordon stayed silent for a moment. In truth, little Thomas, I think you're quite right. Well then, replied Thomas, let's get you to the washdown. The pride of the North-Western Railway can't be seen like this now, can it? And so, reunited, the Allies puffed out of their sheds. Gordon very much still is a boastful engine. That's just part of his nature, and you can't really change it. However, if you were to ask him now what makes him proudest of all, he'll get a big smile and say, to be a Fat Controller's engine.